Right. Do you want to vote? Yeah. Here, okay.
Can I vote?
Yes. Yes, you can vote. Yeah.
Okay, we have one more little one to do
Okay.
voting, and then we'll get started. Okay,
So-
can I have everybody's attention?
So this.
Okay, so we're almost done voting. Thank you, everyone,
Put a
for
letter
voting.
there.
So, Tony,
Then,
he's gonna get himself in trouble.
then you go along here.
Sit down, young
To
man.
where that green tie. Anyone thinks this is your favorite?
I want to introduce Tanya Lam. She came and talked to us a couple years ago, California. She is an orchid hobbyist extraordinaire. She's something that we all as hobbyists can aspire to. And she had, what, 3,000 orchids?
One time, so now you have to find one.
Okay, she's got a lot of orchids, let's say.
One of these.
She, like the rest of us, is on steroids. And so she is also very involved with the San Francisco Society, holding just about every officer position, probably once or twice. And now loves to just come and meet and talk to people like she's doing with us tonight, and to share and learn from us. So she will be doing that. You almost done, Zozo? Okay, good job. Okay, so without ado, I have Tanya.
Please work. Do these work? Hello, hello. I don't know where Matt is.
Okay. The lapel. Perfect. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Yes, louder? Yes. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I've been here a few days and stay on ELO and spoke at ELO last Saturday. Everything went well, saw the lava. So it's been wonderful to be visiting this island again. Happy to be here. Well, I'm from San Jose, California. Everyone has challenges. I'm sure we have different challenges, right? So I'm going to be sharing my challenges, and then maybe you can relate to yours. If you have any, you probably have less challenges than me, being on this paradise of orchid land, where you can grow probably everything outdoor without having to pay an arm and a leg to the utility companies like I do. But anyway, let's get started. And oh, now it doesn't work. Better? All right. If not, apologize. So while waiting, are there any questions? I know you don't know what I'm going to be presenting yet, but let's tell me your challenges. What, yes. Temperature, what's about temperature? Too hot. Like 80s, 90s? High 80s? And very sunny, very bright? Okay, too hot. What else? Fungus. And you grow outdoor? Everybody grow outdoor? Anyone grow greenhouse indoor? What do you grow? So rain, right? Do you have a lot of rain here? sometimes, okay? But the people in Hilo told me there's not enough rain over there. Well, they say overall average that they get less rain compared to the past. Not this week, but overall. I'm sorry, one more and then we'll get started. Couldn't hear you. Peter, were you saying something? Or the lady in the back? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, so Phalaenopsis not blooming? Oh, leaves are falling off. Do you grow them outdoor? In the greenhouse, do you water too much? Okay. Well, you'll see some of my Phalaenopsis later, and we'll talk more about it. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Sorry for the trouble, technical issues. So, just to start off, one thing that over years, when I first started growing, I'm sure just like many of you, buy anything that I like a flower and then figure out what to do with it, right? Figure out how to grow it. And a lot of them don't have names, so I couldn't even look at. But now over the years, I learned that if you know the name, your collection, you know what type, capacity means volume. Well, how many can you fit in your home or greenhouse or patio or lanai? Well, you can always fit one more, right? When you go to the orchid show, does it sound familiar? You make room for one more or two more. And your spouse may complain, but that's okay. Know your environment. Well, you kind of know your environment because if you are here, you grow only outdoor because your spouse won't let you grow anything in the house, in the kitchen, and take over the bedroom. Then you know it. But collections also, what do you grow? You grow species. You know what species is? Anybody who doesn't know what species versus hybrid? Everybody knows, right? Species is the God-made and hybrid is the man-made. If you grow species, it's important to know the habitat. You want to know the elevation. So sometimes you can't find any information about certain species, but if you just know the elevation, that tells you a lot. Because that tells you roughly the temperature ranges that you need. It doesn't tell you about how wet or how dry it is, but it tells you a little bit about temperature. Elevation, temperature, growing habit. So there are three main types that epiphyte, it's growing on tree, lithophyte are on rocks, and terrestrials are on the ground. So even those that grow on the ground, if you've seen them in the wild, they're not really, many of them are not right on dirt. They are on top of leaf pile or loose kind of gravel. So that's important to know because that helps you choose your mixing, your pot, your medium. And whether it's symposium or monopodile. So monopodile are like Vanda or like Phalaenopsis where they don't have bulbs, they kind of go upward. So it's important because your growing, how you treat them may be different based on the type. And then of course hybrids, if you know their name, then you can find their parents or great-grandparents. And then from there, you learn how to grow them well. Or you just join a club or ask people and they say, well, what kind of orchids you have? You know the name, it's helpful. So all of the above apply to hybrids as well. Then you grow greenhouse, treehouse, patio, or indoor. A lot of people who can't grow outdoor, they grow indoor and then have light fixtures because that's you don't have the natural light. So all of these are capacity and environment. Then your potting preferences. Well, I cannot mount anything really because it's so dry, doesn't have much humidity. I travel a lot for work during weekdays, and when I come home, I water. So, for me personally, it doesn't work well to mount, but for here, if you grow outdoor, you probably mount more than pot because the rain naturally water for you. And if you put them in pot, especially if you put them in pot with a mix that's so wet, they'll be rotting, right? So every environment is different. Hydroponics, not so much. You'll see I do some of the semi-hydroponics techniques, and I'll share that with you in a minute. Special, I don't know what else, but there seems to always, people are so creative in growing orchids. So these are common, you know what they are, just kind of listing, these are the one that I've seen used. Here I think most people use bark, right? Yeah. We have lots of lava rocks here, but anyone use lava rock in your mix? I see, yeah, I see hands. I use a lot of lava rock. Now, I use the red lava rock. I don't know that all the lava rock here is black, right? What was that? You have some red, that's good. I haven't seen them, but someone else said something? Linda, what did you say?
Black breaks down quick
Oh, really?
and it turns into like mush.
Oh, it does that.
So that's why they use the red. The red's
Okay.
got more iron in it.
Okay, that's good to know. I did not know that. I never tried the black lava rock, so that's great. See, I'm learning something. Yay. But potting material and the water, it relates to water. Well, do we believe that there's one mix that fits everything? No, right. Yeah, depends on the orchid type, the species, the genus, and also how you grow them. If you mount them, maybe you need to water them more. Now, you may not actually water, but nature waters for you. And how much water do orchids need? Of course, it depends. That's the right answer. There's no one size fits all. How much rain do orchids get in the habitat? That's important to know. So if you grow a lot of species, you probably want to group your orchids in the not just the sunlight, but how much water, so that when you do water, or if you put some are outside, some are indoor, you may group them in that category of how much water they need. And the watering schedule, how much you water, it also depends on a number of factors, right? How you grow, what potting, how big's your pot, your growing environment, and our availability. So for me, when I travel for business, I usually leave Sunday if I go East Coast, or early on Monday, and then not coming back to end of the business week. So if I'm home on weekend, then that's my schedule. So can't rely on any, and they're indoor, they're not outdoor, we don't get rain. So that's my schedule. If they live, they live, they don't, they don't. So what I have to do, because of knowing my challenge, I have to create a mix that lasts exactly 1 week. So because I'm always home, or mostly home on weekends, so that's my schedule. So I create that to fix my challenge. That's one. Other challenges are, and I'll share the chart in a bit. This is my personal experience in San Jose. We get, well, hot is a relative term, so we get 80s, mostly 80s, we get 90s. Occasionally we get triple digit, but rare. So it does get hot during the day, but regardless of how hot during the day, we get very cool nights. We'll get to that. And then winter, well, for me it's cold. It's not snowy, but it's cold for orchids. And we get average 30s at night and occasionally down to 28, 29. But average is in the mid 30s to like 40 during the day, 40s or low 50s during the day, in the winter time. We have a lot of lights, in California. Most day, even winter time, we get lights. So we don't have a lot of dark or cloudy days. So what that means in a greenhouse is if the sun shines through the greenhouse, it gets hot. Get a lot of heat. Humidity is low in the teens, so I'm very jealous of what you have here. Well, humidity, we can create humidity. You can have foggers and things that blow mist in the closed greenhouse to create humidity. That can be done, but it's costly, right? Everything costs. So that's I think my challenges so far, you don't have, right? You don't have to heat, you don't have to cool, everything outdoor, getting nature, water and fresh air. So this is just for perspective, comparing day and night and indoor versus outdoor. So you can see that we have in December, January to February, average day is 50, do I have 55 there? Yeah, and 35 night. Well, I have a gas heater in the greenhouse that's 25 BTU, and that's pretty much not enough. So when it's 30s outside, I set it to 56, but I never climbed to 56. So it's a challenge. So I cannot grow anything that's either very warm or very cold because I have both, but at different times. So in the summer, it's quite hot in the greenhouse. And in the winter, it's cool night. So we have big differences between day and night. So that's the actual meter that I have. We do have 110, not all the time, very rare, but we do get hundreds. And then we get, that's in the greenhouse. And this is in the house, so it's, with the sun out, it's very hot, very low humidity. So very challenging to grow orchids. Energy costs, well, everything gone up a lot in the past few years. Electric, gas, water, we now have solar, we still pay. It's not down to like $19 to $20. It's still in the hundred most months. And then in the winter, so this is before solar and after solar. Because I have the gas, solar doesn't generate gas, only generate electric. So I still have a big bill for in the winter. So very costly. And then rain water. So now I collect rainwater. I collect a lot of rainwater when it rains. So and it only rain in the winter between, say, late October, maybe more in November through February most. And sometimes we get some rain in March. But that's it. April to September, no rain. So I have to store rainwater, and that's it's a lot of setup that I do, but I do collect a good amount. And even with that, I pay before I pay that much for city water. I still pay water now, and especially for those years that I don't have enough water, I start mixing rainwater with tap water, and then I still pay. Actually, the water has gone up a lot, so I still pay now about $200 a month with, and the plants, all plants are using rainwater, just the house, so still a lot of cost. So that's my greenhouse, and I'm gonna show you some of my plants, and I encourage you to ask questions. So my greenhouse is 16 by 36 feet. And it covered with aluminum kind of shade cloth, so it reflects a lot of light into the greenhouse. And then on the side, I painted with diluted white paint to shade just the top and the side. So I leave this part, this is the south side to get the sun, especially in the winter, to get through. And this is outside plants. So we just use net. So the rain gets through, the sun gets through, it's about 30% shade. And this is our rainwater catching tanks. I started with one, it's 620 gallon. And then I added a second one, couldn't get the same one, so they're similar, but they're connected. So now I collect about 1,200 gallons before I pump out. So it rained, actually a good rain will fill up both tanks easily. So that's a part that if I'm away and not pumping out right away, then it runs off and wasted. So I added second tank, and I will catch at least 2 rains, and then on weekends I can pump them. I have this 1.5 horsepower pump mounted on the ground, and I will pump them out as much as possible after rain. I have a lot of storage. So this is a 1,100 gallon tank, and I have 5 of these connected, so over 5,000 gallons. This is a pressure tank so that it pumps into the greenhouse for usage. And it's 120 gallon pressure pump. There's a cactus right next to it. Besides these, I have a lot of small barrels. 55, I have maybe 40 of the 55 gallon barrels. I have a large yard. So you don't have this problem. You don't have to store, maybe you store a little for certain plant, but you don't have to store water, right? I do. That's one of my big challenges, is that I have to overcome the store because I want to use rainwater on my orchids. Besides paying the city, and if I use over a certain amount of water, we get penalty too, not just pay a heck of a lot for water. But also orchids love rainwater. You know that? Yeah, pure water.
Is your water acidic or is it?
The city water is pretty bad in San Jose. It has all kinds of chemicals. It has a lot of white residue, and I'm sure it's not pH balanced. So certain plants, most plants are okay. If you grow cymbidium or outdoor dahlias or dendrobiums, they're okay. They don't die because a lot of people don't collect rainwater like I do. But if you grow certain species that are picky about water quality, rainwater is best, right? And since I collect rainwater, I use it all on my orchids, and they love it. I can tell. So there are years in the past that I don't have enough rainwater, and when I switch to tap water, that's why I mix them before I completely run out. So if I'm low in September, I will start mixing. I don't wait until all rain drain and then use all tap water, because the plants are very different when they use tap water, and I can tell. All right. So those are so this is other tanks lined up, and this is a swamp cooler that blows cool air into and moist air into the greenhouse. So everything in the greenhouse using rainwater is hooked up. Is a close up. So I collect, if it's all full, it's about 11,000 gallon, but not every year is full because some years we don't get enough rain. These are my smaller barrels. And the pumps. So I use some pump. So because they are easy to, even for the big tank, when I mix fertilizer, I use these first. So these are easier because I use about 2 drums a week, and I just mix enough fertilizer in the smaller barrels. I don't drop a ton of, I don't put any fertilizer in the big tank, because if you don't use up, they no good. So use some pump. I use these, the longer version of this metal hose because I can pull, I use about a 200-yard length. So I connect them. They don't make 200, maybe 2 of a 100 feet hose. And this is the top sprayer that I can easily just close and open instead of pressing the level. And these are the fertilizer that I use. There's a company called Romeo Company. They are in Half Moon Bay and they make all kinds of fertilizer. They are wholesale, but I could go and make them. They sell me a 50-pound bag. So they mix all kinds, but this is the one I use, and this is equivalent to the MSU, the Michigan State University formula. It's the one with calcium and magnesium, and they have calcium because I use rainwater. They have many other formulas, so if you don't use rainwater, this is not the right fertilizer. And it's a big bag, 50 pound. And that's what I use. I do half a teaspoon 3 times a month, so weekly. And then skip one, just most people do. And then between February and October, they get fertilizer, but in the winter from November to February, they don't get any fertilizer. I may still, on the next slide, I think, yeah, I still mix with this calcium, liquid calcium, because I use 100% rainwater. By adding this in, even though the formula that I use has calcium, that's not enough. So by mixing a little bit of calcium liquid into the mix of fertilizer, it does really well. This was introduced to me, mycophylaxis from Royal Oahu. I tried it for a while, but it didn't do a whole lot of different for me, so I stopped using it. It's also rather expensive. This is I think it's a 5 pound, not even 5, maybe 2 pound bag. You don't put a lot, but so I put it here as a micronutrients. Pest control, I know that's a big concern for a lot of us, right? So this is what I use. I think they changed the name now. It's Bio Advanced, and I cannot order online anymore. They don't ship to California, but I don't know if you have it here. This is very poison. It's not, nothing's, this is not organic. I have not found a organic or, you know, non-poison pest item that works. So I stick with this, and I only do it twice a year when I have a lot of orchids. And I would have a sprayer, small. So if I buy a new orchids, I spray them before they join everything else in the greenhouse. And I mix 1 ounce per gallon of water. So this is a gallon size. If you have a lot of orchids, you go through this rather quickly. But they also make a pint size, 32 ounce maybe, a lot smaller, but I use a lot. And the spider mites, this is a big problem. I have spider mites and drips. They are so tiny, you don't see them, especially the drips. So very difficult to get rid of. But I use this, you don't even see the name now, but it's a small, how many ounces is this? Maybe 8 ounce for $400. It's very expensive, but it works. I don't know if they still make it. This has been years ago. But I tried everything and nothing works for drips and spider mites. So this is called Avid. I don't know if they still do, but a lot of them I couldn't buy because they don't ship to California. So I'm curious what you use. Yes.
The acacia palm and also the Hawaii tree fern. Take those ponds, like in my case, I had citrus that had spider mites he put the ponds in the local, nursery, who told me that. You stick these ponds in the trees. Most part of it. They can't take the pond. Trees.
From the palm? That's interesting.
Tree ponds. The little fern, the white tree fern.
So it has to be the Hawaii tree fern, that special kind of fern?
Into the fire.
Does everybody do that?
But it really works. Nursery down by Costco, well, he still is. He told me about it, and it really works. I just throw them in like darts into the tree, and even when the white tree ferns, what do you want to call that? Those spindles come off. Even just throw those in there, and when they pass on, die, turn brown. Firelights won't come in.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I get spider mites is because I have plants that I keep very dry winter. So in winter in general, I water less, and some of them don't get water at all, and that creates an environment for mites because they like dry. Anyone else doing how you treat mites? You have to use something very toxic. I haven't found anything that's non-poison that works. Neem oil helps, but didn't do 100% either. Yeah, trips. This aphid thing fixes the drip. The mice come back, but drip is gone. Especially when I get plants from Hawaii, I get drips, most likely. So I make sure that if I order plants from Hawaii, I always treat them before, and I repot. I tend to repot new plants, whether they bloom or not. Well, maybe if they bloom, and I will keep them for a little bit, but I change every mix. I throw away all the original mix because I have to use my mix to fit my schedule. So I make sure all the roots are clean with this before I pot them, because a lot of them are hidden below the surface. Anyone successfully use anything for drips? No.
Trying to help minerate is a biological control, so that tells them bacteria or fungus. Getting good results, but I only just started using it last 6 months. So
Okay.
stay tuned.
Yeah, share with the club if you. Yes, I heard about that. Is it toxic?
I do it all the time, but I see them coming, and I pretty much control. But then I got it. But it does work.
Yeah, also this aphid formula, I don't drench because it's so expensive. I don't drench the plant. I was told that you mix in the spray, and when you see them, you spray, and they don't die right away. They take that with them back to their nest, and that's how you kind of kill them in quantity. And then hopefully you spray enough their eggs don't hatch. Yeah, you have to continue to do that for a while before you get rid of them. But they multiply fast, so you have to act right away. Snail, I don't know, do we have snail and slug problem here? Oh yeah? Anywhere it gets rain, you get it, right? Oh, we have tons in our backyard. But this chlorine is available at Home Depot everywhere knows. It helps, but what works best for me, I don't know if you can tell what that is coffee, ground coffee. Ground coffee not only works for slug and snail, it works for ants. So I don't mix in the plant though. I sprinkle around the benches, and outside also I have no ants, no slug. I used to deal with, and they come in, they eat the young leaves, right? Especially in the winter, because when it rains outside, it falls into the greenhouse and they do a lot of damage. And now I have to say I have zero in the greenhouse. And even outside, the growing area, I don't see them. Yes, Peter?
Fresh coffee grounds or juice?
Use one. Yeah, we drink coffee. We haven't expressed. Oh yeah, you don't need to buy Kona coffee and put it out. That would be you'll break your banks very fast. Even if, or maybe if you grow coffee trees and have it, but use coffee. And so if you don't drink coffee, I'm sure you can get free used coffee from coffee shops. Yes.
Did you say that you don't put it in a glass and you just put it around?
Yeah, I don't mix in. Some people mix a little. If you do mix, you put very little. But I don't mix. I just put them around the benches and all over. So when I water, it washes some of them away, and I have used coffee every day. I even put that in my compost, and that also helps things break down as well as keeping the ants away. So it works really well. And this thing is an electronic that you can, it's called pest repellent. It helps to keep some of the bugs away and more for the rats, which we'll get to. I have that too. So my greenhouse, this is a shade house, so very crowded, and the light is awesome. We get lots of sunlight, so this is morning or afternoon. So it's just get the light shade, so get lots of light. The drobiums and mediums grow like crazy. And in the greenhouse, upper bench, very, very crowded, but gets lots of light. And this is not painted, maybe very little shade. It's more on the top, because I want shade on the side to come in. Crowded, it's not like that anymore. I'm totally downsizing. But, and the lower bench, so here's my phalaenopsis, and you can see the lava rock. I use red lava rock. Well, I experimented, and I also have red lava rock on the gravel on the ground. So when I repot, and so I don't throw those rocks. I throw on the greenhouse floor to add to the helping with the humidity, because when the water down wet, when it's super hot, I also wet down the floor, and that does help with humidity. So because lava rock, they dry rather quick. So now I mix with coconut and perlite, and you see that I keep them in tray. This tray has about maybe not even half an inch the bottom, solid. So the water stays in there and keep the bottom of the pot cool and wet, because otherwise it gets so dry. I could not use bark. So at the beginning of my orchid years, I used bark like many people do. They dry out too fast, especially new bark. I couldn't get them to stay wet or moist. So everything got so dehydrated, because especially when the greenhouse gets to 110, you can water daily or hourly and nothing can stay wet. So my greenhouse is a little bit about the air. I have a lot of vents. I have a lot of fans. You see that you have 2 ceiling fans and a lot of small fans on the lower bench and taller fans on the upper benches, and they run 24/7. So you know why I pay big electric bill? Well, you don't have that problem, so I'm so jealous. And I have added a solar exhaust fan on the roof to suck the hot air out. And this is the humidity. So, of course, we have very low humidity or no humidity at all. It's in the tea, 15, 19%. So to get to 50%, I use this fogger. It blows fine mist. I also hook it up to the rainwater source, so it doesn't clog up quickly, but this thing doesn't last very long. It's cost a couple $100 in last few months, so I have to keep replacing and finally stop doing that. We had a lot of humidity at night, so that's a helping thing because at least it gets some humidity during the day, during the night when the fog is out, because we get quite a bit of foggy night and early morning, but not during the day. What I use coconut chip a lot. I know people, you probably don't do that. Anybody use coconut chip here? Oh, Susan, oh, Sue does. Who else? Yes, so few of you. You do all coconut chip or you mix with something else?
Part of the mix. Just one component.
So I don't want to use all coconut. I mix it with perlite and rock. And that's a wonderful mix for most plants, indoor and outdoor. Because coconut help retain water. For me, that's a big deal because we don't get rain, so I have to water them. And to keep them moist a week, they have to be in coconut. Growing in bark just didn't work for me. And that's my roots and the Australian dendrobium. So because they're outdoor, I have to pot them with for the winter. So, and that's a general rule of thumb. If I pot for summer, they will rot in the winter. So I pot for winter. That means that they're in a very open mix. There are a lot of rocks in there and a lot of holes below. And so in the winter, especially like this week, it rained more than 3 times a week. It's very wet. And then in the summer, it's so dry. So I rather water twice a week in the summer and keep them not rot in the winter. Here's my Cymbidium and my Dendrobium speciosum. I don't know, some of you I've seen, Sue, I said that you have Cymbidium in bloom. And especially for those of you in higher elevation, you should be able to grow Dendrobium speciosum. Yeah, anyone? Yes, yeah. So it blooms, it needs a conine, so which we do have. So it always blooms in March. And that's the flowers. And talk to the mix, that's just all of these species that I grow. I use a lot of rock topping with coconut chip. So here are just some of the pictures, and I use trays. I know we don't advise people to put orchids in water, but for me, I do because there's nothing in a pot for vendor, but they do sit on top of a tray. So I water it, it feels maybe an inch, it will dry up in no time. And that will suck up, and then you won't get water until the following week or so. So I don't think you can see, but I have lava rock sitting on the bottom of the pot in the tray. So even though the pot sitting in the tray, it doesn't, most of them don't even touch water. So they touch the rock, the wet rock. So I fill up the tray with water, and that's how I could grow vandas in pot. I don't grow them hanging because I don't get rain and I'm not around to water them. So they have to be in pot. Some other species, so a lot of them are in trays and in shallow pots. So just flip it through, and then this is a milk jug that I cut in half. So the gallon pot sits nicely in there, and I drill a hole about an inch from the bottom, so that the bottom will get some water trapped in there for a few days, maybe a day. And here's another tray with pot sitting in on top of the wet rock. Phalaenopsis, I recently experiment and do really well with semi-hydroponics. So my kids, they always bring home boba cups. These cups, and then you could use the food, the to-go cups too. What I do is I keep about an inch from the bottom, and then I drill hole from the 1 inch bottom up. So every holes here. Phalaenopsis do extremely well in this option. You see all the roots, they still try to go out, but some will go in. And especially in the summer, I keep that bottom inch filled with water, and the roots will try to reach down when I'm not around. And they do extremely well. So I do this for Phalaenopsis, half, epidendrum, and some of the dendrobiums. And oncidium, Cherry Beauty are very happy doing this. But I don't know if you guys don't need to do this because you have rain. And even for those of you who grow indoor, you don't get rain, you get humidity. And these roots, they prefer humidity over being wet too much. So you have the advantage that you have humidity and you get rain here. Yeah, we have different challenges, right? Yeah, Bovifilum, yeah, everything is pretty much have to sit in water, especially in the summertime. In the winter, I don't do that. So you see that I may reverse the pot or the tray in the winter time, and they still get water, but they don't sit on top of water. Things like the leafless orchid, so this is only root. So it's in this little basket, and then it's in the pot so that the roots don't get too far down, and it sits on top of the shallow tree. Same thing here. All the bandas in basket, and then these pot is on wet rock, so the bottom is in this bottle that I cut. Bovifilum in rock. You see how healthy and the leaves are so clean because of rainwater. I don't get any white marks. And this is a tray that I use. This is from Walmart. They are sold in the can section of kitchen. People who do canning. They use these trays to put the cans in. They have the bigger size for the 5-inch and the 6-inch pot. They also have the smaller one for the 3-inch. So, and they have they have like, 11 holes. So you just, space them out, and so they don't really sit in a lot of water. And then I don't fill up over this line here. So it's just a way to keep them from knocking off as well as sitting in water. And in the winter, these are outdoor dendrobium. I reverse the tray so they don't sit in the water in the winter time. And then in the spring, when I start watering them again, then they may sit in water during the summertime. I grow a lot of the Vanda flaccata outdoor, and their roots are really happy if they have some humidity coming up from the bottom. Again, I'm creating humidity for the roots for the bottom of the plants. So you see a lot of that. This is, what is this? I forgot what it is. So yeah, a lot. So this is a pot sitting on top of the water bottle. I'm just flipping through so you get an idea of how I help my orchids thrive. So you see that roots will be reaching into the water. And that's okay for the warmer months. And so you have to be careful during the cold months because it's really cold in San Jose. If I do this in the winter, definitely a lot of them will rot. Psychopsis, they like to be moist also. And with the dry weather, and I like to mix it with the rock so that there's some coconut on top, but they don't get the whole mix in the pot. And you see how roots are developed quickly on this mix. You see a lot of rock, you don't see a lot of coconut, but there's some coconut in here. So different species, different hybrids, they all, and I use a lot of these. And when, rainwater does create algae, and I just toss the plastic when they get dirty. You see how much roots I get. And habenaria, you grow habenaria, you know that you have extreme dry winter. So when the leaves drop, in usually about this time, after they bloom in October, I don't water them at all. In fact, I take the little tuber out of the pot and throw them in a corner where I don't accidentally water them, and keep them dry until at least February, and I start missing them. So this is Habenaria medusae. So I put on, now in the winter, they're extremely dry. In the summer, I have to put them in water because I just couldn't water them fast enough. They need a lot of water in the summer. And here's some dendrobiums. This is Sarcophyllus outdoor in basket, sitting on the tray. Is what is this? Milliform. This is dendrochilum, and this is it's now Vanda, Vietnamina. Christensonianum, that is now I think Vanda, and a lot of Vandaceous hybrid. This is Vanda facata hybrids. And Phalaenopsis. So I also use these baskets to put the packs in. So the bottom half-inch will have water, and I elevate it with rocks in there. So the plants are sitting on wet rock, they're actually not sitting in water. And the packs do well. Next I use, besides rock and coconut, I also have some that in sphagnum moss. Only these are in moss. I don't use anything else in moss. Because they need to be wet. So the question is, in the hot days, do you want to use ice pack? Technically you can, but I'm not gonna go out there and put this on and take it back and put it in the freezer and then put it out again. So it's too much work. Right? So we'll have to figure out how to get around with the weather and the water need. So mounted orchids, if I buy mounted orchids, I pretty much take them out of the mound and put them in pot. And until I have time to do that, I stick them in the pot and then put them in water, so at least I get some water until I get time to repot them. So these are the trays. So there are two sizes, and they are made for jar. So they're called jar box. I don't know if they have it anymore, but Walmart. And I cut bottled waters. Everything is recyclable. Cups, shallow dish, and trays. So these have a bottom that traps some water, about half an inch. And this is very little, about quarter inch. Especially for Vanda, this works really well, and the roots will come out on the side, and it keeps a little water in the bottom to keep them wet for a couple hours before they dry out. And everything, so lots of these plastic baskets. And this is another challenge. I have uninvited visitors. So I hear that you get maybe pigs, wild pigs, rooster, what else? Goats, rats, frogs. Well, do frogs eat anything in your yard? So there are a lot of creatures that out there that can damage the plants. So I put the trap in the greenhouse and I caught bees. So I know they come. I don't do that anymore, but at one point I put out poison and I just don't like to do that. Because they sometimes don't die right away. They will go to the neighbor yard or and the cats and the, neighbor's dogs may, do something with them. Or they may go under the benches that I have so many plants, I have to move everything to look for that dead body. It was just not fun. But, and this is what they did. They ate the flowers. They ate, this is the psychopsis plant, they ate everything, like all the bulbs. That's just so bad. They even ate the moss, the snail, so they are very hungry. And they ate half of the leaves on this, so it's so damaging. Sanitary, I like to keep my greenhouse clean, so I have trash cans, just you have to pick out the dead stuff, the dry stuff everywhere. So keeping things clean may help some of the fungus, some of the bacteria. And the key thing is keep it airy. If you grow indoor, if you grow outdoor, that's not an issue, but indoor or basement, make sure you have open window when you can and have fans around. My dream of living or growing is that day of 70 to 75, maybe occasionally 80 I can handle. Right? Night is nicely about 60, which we have here, and lots of sunny days and few rainy days. Actually, if I go outdoor, I would like to have more rainy days, then I don't have to water them. So I really admire the temperature, the weather here, and I wish I had this condition. The dream shade, so you could spend a lot of money. People do make these patio cover that these are louvers. So they can move, you can close or you can open them, and they could be set up automatically move based on the sun. If you set them now with solar, you can have the motor to do that, but these are expensive. Things that you can do to have more growth conditions. So to end, I would like to introduce two of the orchids that came after me. So the first one, Speaker Tanya Lam. This is no longer in existence because I killed it, but it bloomed. It's a hybrid of a species and a species tigrinum, which is known to be a difficult pack or a shy bloomer. Maldier is one that blooms a lot where you get the stripes. This is from tigrinum, you get the spot. It's beautiful. And I got, it didn't get an award, but this one, Speaker Tanya Lam, got an HCC AOS in 2015. And it always bloomed from Thanksgiving to about New Year. So it's a long blooming cattleya. It has a slight fragrance and it's beautiful, just like me. So thank you. Let me know if you have more questions. I really enjoyed this and love to share more. Yes.
All of your stored water, do you have concerns of bacteria in water that sits for too long? Do you go ahead?
You mean the one in the tank, the storage tank? I don't put anything in there. I just make sure that they have closed lids. And use the dark color barrel. So I do have a few blue, light blue and white. I didn't buy them. They were given to me early on. Those water, so if I run out of storage, those are last to store, but then use first. And I also have a few smaller barrels where I have no lids, So those are my last storage. If I run out of tanks or storage, and I still have rainwater, I use them, but then I use them on plants first because they don't have lid. But anything with dark black or dark green, I have no problem with anything. They are tight. They close all year round. And I put a little shade cloth to keep the sun out a little bit. So no problem. Yes.
Who hybridized it, Cattleya and Oreo?
You know, I do not know. It was given to me by a member who passed away years ago, and I didn't ask. So the story about how could I get it registered to the Cool Garden, and it's register orchid. It was by accident. So I brought the plant because it blew in November, and there was only one society that had, or they used to have a show in November. That was Santa Cruz Orchid Society, and I did not enter it for judging. But the judges picked my plant to judge, and I got an HCC. They recommended that I register it, and I say, well, I didn't hybridize it. I didn't know who hybridized it. The person who gave me the plant is not around. I had no idea who did. They say, well, go to the Kew Garden in England, the website, the HRS, the Horto Society, the Royal Horto Society. So I checked the website, and they said the form that they need you to register, it say that, are you a hybridizer of this plant? No. Do you know who hybridized it? No. Well, the third option is you can register. So I did, and so it's official. Thank you. Yes. Oh, the parent. Can I read it? Can you move that? It's a Lelia and a Cattleya. So it used to be a LC. Used to be Lelia Cattleya. It's now Cattleya. So here it is. Lelia was Pestris Eiffel Tower by Cattleya Coquina, a method this thing. So it has a tint of purple, blue, but it's more pink. It's pink and white. It's beautiful. Yeah, I have a few divisions. Actually, someone recently told me that they saw this plant with the same exact name for sale on eBay. So I don't know who got it. I did give a few pieces away, so one of the people had put it, or maybe divide it and sell it. But this variety, as I know, it should only be me having, because I didn't remake it. So special. Yes? Anything else? If not, I thank you for your time.
No.
Yeah, so it's the presentation, right?
We have one tie to vote on tonight.